Hey everyone, welcome back to Apollo Art Analysis. This episode, we'll be studying a piece by the established digital illustrator known as Jesperish, and in this episode, we'll be talking about the impact of scale, and we're also going to explore the idea of geometric surrealism, so let's jump right into it. So whenever you first see this work, remember this lone single subject here, really a grand scene and an incredible introduction at that. Our first impression is likely one of awe or curiosity due to such a grand, of course, large-scale composition here. We look at the placement in space, we certainly see how everything revolves around this central, really diamond here, but there's so many different elements going on here. So we also see this primarily accented through a light on dark accent. That brilliant silver certainly catches the eye and is very in the forefront here. We look at the realm of color, you may notice, of course, gold, silver, and green. What's so interesting, it's kind of a semi-analogous palette, quite close there. Kind of a green and gold are also quite natural colors as well, so this may remind of the natural realm in some way or another. What's so interesting as well is the impact of texture. Texture is one of the most definitive elements of the display at hand here. We see this everywhere from the smooth silver to the much rougher green to the bit more smooth gold there. There's so many different variations within that. You also have a bit of reflection and the impact of light as well that we cannot miss. All in all, those all really immerse us within such a grand scene here. It is very striking. It's kind of foreboding in a way, but it really leaves us in awe in that first impression. Absolutely stunning. We'd love to see that. What's so interesting, you see, geometric forms of different sizes, both regular and irregular form. What do I mean by that? Well, regular form could be something like the sphere. An irregular form could be much closer to these kind of bits of gold that are hard to put your finger on, but they certainly catch the eye nonetheless. All in all, this is really on the edge of surrealism in the geometric dialect. It's quite interesting. We'd love to see it here. Another thing you may notice is the format of the composition here. We see this in near-symmetrical nature, so it's really is split across a vertical central axis. Of course, not perfect symmetry, but very overall layout of this composition is symmetrical in nature. When we see elements or scenes of symmetry, it's always going to give us a sense of balance, a sense of order, and of course, a sense of high harmony. So it's quite fitting for the work at hand, of course, such a large and grand scene, but it's also symmetrical, so there's a sense of higher order to the work at hand. With this in mind, how do you feel when you view this piece? What do you think we're looking at? Quite interesting questions you may ask yourself when we're staring at this work. So, we don't have a direct reference for size or scale, but we can't help but feel as if this is quite large, right? This kind of dwarfs the viewer in our initial impression. Not only is the scene so wide here, but there's an incredible impact of scale and size. We see that, let's look at something as a reference here. If this can be held in your hand, you can imagine just how large this greater scene is. We even see maybe an eye peeking out there that's quite interesting. Of course, surrealism always throws different elements at you. You never know what you're going to look at. You never know what you're going to kind of discover when you look back at that work. But the impact of scale here, it is beyond doubt. It just dwarfs us, gives us just a grand sense, and the sense of surrealism as well. It kind of floods and overwhelms us in a way as well. But it's really akin to the sense of awe that we feel, right? When you feel a sense of awe, it feels like everything feels greater than us. We certainly see that within the composition at hand. The original artist, when creating different works, mentions architecture and graphic design. When we look at the context of architecture, we certainly see the influence here. Like we said, I keep saying the word grand, but this is all I can really kind of come up with here. It is incredible. It's very large. It's foreboding, but it's in a way that is grand and luxurious. Of course, the impact of gold and the impact of this green, they really play off each other, and it creates such a memorable work here. So we certainly see the influence of kind of architectural design that the artist really mentions quite a bit. And so I mentioned surrealism, right? It's quite interesting. We look at this, you ask yourself, what is surrealism? Well, when we try to put our finger on it, we can't really point to any one element that looks real. There is this almost sense of zero gravity as everything kind of flows upward. It's quite interesting. No doubt a sense of motion within the work at hand. So much visual energy as well, not only from the color gold, but from the sheer amount of curves, the sheer amount of dynamism and work within the piece at hand. You see this everywhere. It feels, like I said, is like zero gravity effect, as if everything is just floating upwards. It's absolutely stunning, and we love to see that here. And there really is no doubt that we give this sense of strength to the work at hand, especially this large kind of what I call a chiron in the center. It gives this incredible sense of foundation and base to the work. It gives us a sense of structure, but it gives us a sense of strength as well that you cannot miss here. So it's absolutely stunning. We also see the convergence of that, right? You see so many different forms converging into one central space at the center. And so that really gives us a sense of order, a sense of harmony. And like we said, the grand sense of scale here is something that's just unforgettable. So really love this piece here. This is actually a digital illustration, so it was painstakingly painted on a screen. So absolutely stunning results of that. Like we said, everything from texture to the impact of, say, form, dynamism, the impact of different color combinations. It's absolutely unforgettable, and we'd love to see something such as this. I'm going to bring in some other pieces from Jesperish, see what we can learn from this artist's style of kind of a geometric surrealism. Alright, so I brought in two works here from the original artist Jesperish, and of course both of these are going to be digital illustrations as well. So like I said, painstakingly painted upon a screen. It's absolutely stunning what you can do with a lot of time, devotion, and effort. So we certainly see that here. In the terms of geometric surrealism, it's quite interesting. Surrealism sometimes implies a form. So for example, in the piece on the left here, we see the implication of a palace or some type of structure or some sort. Once again, we see the impact of architecture making its mark once more. And then we look at the work on the right here. Very similar in, say, color and form to the piece in the center here, but there's way more motion in the work at hand as well. You know, when we look at the piece, there's almost this gemstone or crystalline nature that we must point to as well, especially looking at this work. You see that most prevalent in the center as if it's growing off of the center. But like I said, surrealism is prevalent in all three of these works here, kind of a geometric surrealism, but really follows a different spectrum. What do I mean by that? Well, like we said on the far left, this really implies a palace or some type of structure. We look at this work, it's harder, much harder to kind of point to what exactly it may be in the real world. When we get to this work and it really devolves, we really have no idea what we're looking at. But regardless of that, it really is the nature of surrealism, right? It always keeps you on your heels. It immerses us within a dreamscape or, of course, the surreal or greater than real world. So absolutely stunning, and the original artist does an amazing job at displaying that style. Absolutely stunning, and the geometric surrealism is something that's going to leave a lasting impression on all who stand before it. So yeah, really hope y'all enjoyed today. We talked about so many different things, from the impact of texture, spatial placement, harmonious symmetry, all the way to the sense of the gold, to the sense of the crystals, gemstones, so many different things we hit on today. I really hope y'all enjoyed. If y'all did, go check out the original artist Jesperish, doing some amazing stuff in the world of digital illustration and kind of the style of geometric surrealism that we talked about today. So like I said, really hope y'all enjoyed, and if y'all did, go check out the original artist. My name is Apollo, this was Apollo Art Analysis, and I'll see y'all on the next episode. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you'd like to support our work directly, please check out our Apollo community tokens. Apollo Art Exchange is an ecosystem of art appreciation which elevates artists each and every day. Thanks for listening.